Freedom of the press. Not so fast, my friends, because last week, Pete Hegseth fired the ombudsman of Stars and Stripes. Her name, Jacqueline Smith. She was the first woman to hold the job in the paper's history and the 13th ombudsman overall. And her job, her entire job, established by Congress in the 90s, is to protect the editorial independence of this newspaper. The newspaper that every deployed American service member receives for free when they're abroad in combat zones, so that they can read the truth about what their government is doing to them and with them. Stars and Stripes has existed in some form or fashion since the Civil War. Lincoln read it. Eisenhower read it. Your grandfather read it. It's the only independent paper that makes it to a tent in Iraq at 3 a.m. And Pete Hegseth killed her job with DA Form 3434 with 5 days notice, no reason given. Non-grievable. Thanks for your service, don't call us. And why was she fired? Presumably because she was doing her job. Her job is to tell Congress when the Pentagon leans on that newspaper. And the Pentagon has been leaning on the newspaper with both hands. In January, a guy named Sean Parnell, the assistant to the Secretary of Secretary of Defense, I won't do it again, for Public Affairs, posted 4 paragraphs on X announcing that they were going to refocus the paper. In government speak, refocus is spelled Propaganda. It's pretty good. Can spell. It's nice. And the same day that Parnell posted that, the Pentagon rescinded the federal regulation that protected Stars and Stripes from exactly this kind of Pentagon interference. They yanked the regulation with no public comment period, which was required by law. Illegal, they don't care. In March, Deputy Secretary Steve Feinberg issued an interim policy that handed the Pentagon direct control over the paper. Also illegal, they also don't care. So Jacqueline Smith was writing columns about all of this. She wrote columns, she did national interviews, she talked to Elizabeth Warren, she testified to Congress. She was, in other words, doing exactly the job Congress wrote for her in 1991 after the Pentagon tried to suppress coverage of the Iran-Contra affair. And her most recent column, the one that probably got her fired, opened with this line: Pete Hegseth doesn't want you to see cartoons in this newspaper anymore. The opening line of her column was about comics. Pete Hegseth, so obsessed and so ready for war, killed the color comics in a military newspaper. A man who's posting prayer chains about obliterating cities came after the funnies. Marmaduke is now a national security threat. Garfield has apparently been radicalized. Family Circus, they are one little dotted line away from being subversive. And the Secretary of War is scared of zits. But the comics, they were a warning shot. What he really wants is control of the editorial. Because here's what Stars and Stripes really does. It's handed out for free in war zones. And it's the only piece of independent news a lot of our deployed service members will see all day. A sergeant in a tent in the Persian Gulf reading an article about his own war without his own chain of command having edited it first. That's the whole point. That's what Congress said in 1991, hands off. And Pete Hegseth, who spent his National Guard weekends on Fox and Friends, who's openly preying on Truth Social for his own war to work, has decided that idea is a problem. Why is it a problem? Because he wants them to follow orders even if they're illegal. 6 Senate Democrats, including Warren, Blumenthal, Jeanine Shaheen, wrote a 5-page letter to Feinberg in April with 7 questions. The Pentagon has responded to 0. Jamie Raskin in the House got 38 other members to sign a letter expressing great alarm. 6 days after Jamie Raskin sent that letter, that's when Jacqueline Smith was fired. Not a coincidence. That's a message. That's the Pentagon saying, we see you. We don't care. We're not going to answer you. And by the way, just in case you didn't get the message, we're firing the ombudsman. Pete Hegseth's Pentagon has now lost 2 separate lawsuits to the New York Times over press restrictions in the past year. 2. In federal court against our Secretary of War on First Amendment grounds. And the Pentagon's response has been essentially, fine, sue us again, we'll lose again, and we'll ignore it again. And that's where we are. The military paper that every deployed Marine reads on a Tuesday morning, fighting for their life against a cable news host who cosplays as Secretary of Defense in a building with 5 sides. The last woman in there with the legal authority to protect it got served a termination form last Tuesday, and a Congress full of people who swore oaths to defend the Constitution is for the most part passing her in the hallway without making eye contact because all they can do is write a letter. And if you support the troops for real, not just for the bumper sticker, buy a subscription to somewhere like Stripes.com. Tell your representative to co-sponsor the Shaheen bill to protect the paper. Because what is happening right now is that a bunch of ex-Fox News producers are deciding what a Marine in a rocket attack zone is allowed to read. And that's not a small thing. That thing has a name, and that name is censorship. And it's happening right now to American soldiers. And if you didn't hear about this story, it's because the mainstream media and the algorithm didn't want you to. How do you fight back? You interact with independent journalists and independent reporting like us. All we need is a like, a subscription, a comment to us and any independent outlet that you enjoy. Do it so we can save our country.